Yes, I'm Ken Butler. I'm an artist and musician. I guess my main focus would be making what I call hybrid instruments by repurposing found objects and things mostly from the street. So it's kind of a bricolage. I call myself bricolage. If you don't know that word, means using whatever is at hand. And a luthier, of course, is a string instrument builder. So you could call me a luthier. Thank you very much. So I got started really when I was a visual artist, and I was exploring different mediums, photography and painting, and I took a class and found out about light-sensitive diazo paper. I printed an X-ray on the diazo paper and realized the resulting image of the X-ray of the full-body torso looked like a guitar. The spinal column looked like frets, and there was the shape like that. And so that was in my head when there was a hatchet in my basement in 1978, and I picked up the hatchet and thought, well, that would really be a weird sculpture to make a violin out of your small axe. And so I strung it up. It fit inside a case. I was off and running. Although I didn't know at the time that was going to be my direction. But I was a huge fan of, and remain a fan of work from that period. Duchamp and Man Ray, Kurt Schwitters, particularly perhaps, who made assemblage works from garbage, essentially. And so that was part of my influence. And I thought about that. I think it was Eric Satie, well, there's an actual Eric Satie quote to the effect of violins made from hats or something like that from some those early Dada experiments in surrealism. So I just love that period. I like the multifaceted point of view of Cubism, something that you're looking at from all sides, that jagged kind of, but using Cubism especially because they utilized, Picasso and Braque utilized the iconography imagery of stringed instruments, probably the best example in the history of art. Well, the sound's in mind, but most of them, when I make an instrument, it's because I've found an object that resembles somehow the body of a violin, viola, a saz, oud, stand-up bass, cello, whatever the string instrument is. And then I attach the neck to it, and then I try to make it sound as good as possible, but oftentimes I know that's going to be not too functional, even though I use contact mics. So in a way, I'm just really amplifying the string, not so much about the acoustic properties. But sometimes magical, weird things happen, kind of by accident. It's not necessarily about trash. It's about recontextualizing the normal environment around you. And so if you really look at man-made human-made objects, you understand that they're already proportioned to our bodies. Therefore, things that are already produced have possibly some potential to be turned into instruments. Like a hockey stick is already very stiff. It's laminated wood. It has the blade that slips nicely into the pocket of your jeans. The thickness of the hockey stick is just exactly that of the headstock of a guitar, so a tuning peg sticks up just the right amount out of the top, which is to say a little bit. So if it's too high, the string can't come down to the nut. And so there are things that just already, picking up a tennis racket and pretending you're strumming it, anything round, a broom handle, a cane, those things are already there. Somebody carved them, or a machine did, and then finished them, and so did all that laborious work, and I'm just going to find them and drill a couple holes, attach them together with nuts and bolts. So the reason that for the trash is that that's where you visualize randomness, and that's where you have the opportunity to be a bricoleur. It's not as much as that you're drawn to it, it's just that's where the miscellaneous ends up. or in a junk store where you're gonna have to pay $200 for a crappy broken chair, whereas on the street, not only is it inherently in a chaotic situation, but that's a very surrealist notion. The random association creativity thing happens in the garbage more than it does anywhere else. I suppose in people who are crazy, hyper unorganized and chaotic and hoarders, but most people tend to put their shoes relatively in the same, you don't go and have one shoe in the kitchen cabinet and one out in the barn, but in the trash, you do. You have a shoe next to a piece of paper, a potato chip bag, and then so most of the time you don't think about that as being particularly creative, but when you're looking with an eye like I have, those random associations, like the surrealist piece, I believe it's a Man Ray, the chance meeting of I can't remember, an ironing board, I think a typewriter and an ironing board end up, so the trash is where that happens. Also, it's free, you can take it. There's no materials. It's unexpected, and so it's about transformation. The sound, therefore, is a byproduct of that visual, poetic, hopefully, relationship. So it's not always effective, but that's okay with me because I'm not after that. What I'm after first is the poetry of the potential meaning and feeling of the object and the proportions, almost the design aspect. I say collisions of form and function because I'm trying to refunction, reform, recombine. It's not from scratch. Somebody else did all that before me. And also, I just like the idea that it's something humble, and it's like a musical. Don't touch that guitar. That's don't be careful with that. It's ridiculous. Who wants to own anything that you have to be careful with? I mean, not that I'm. Well, there was a point where I was throwing these things around. Anyway, I think you get something special if you've made it yourself. You feel that it's something different. It's practical, obviously, to some degree, if it stays in tune. What is a musical instrument? I would love to be on a panel, and I could go off on that because of course everything is, but that's not the point.